Israel declared war on the Egyptian borders with the recent declaration of the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz of making the borders with Egypt a closed military zone. The excuse is the drones coming from Egypt to Israel. Now they're saying that it's actually a declaration of war and Israel is preparing to change things on the ground. Let's have a little bit of a background about this whole situation. Well, firstly, Israel has been complaining about drones coming in from the Sinai Peninsula, not only to the Israeli territories or the Palestinian occupied territories, but also to Gaza as well. These drones can hold things from 3 to 4 to 5 kg up to 50 kilograms at one point. Now they're saying that weapons, drugs, explosives are going in from the Sinai Peninsula towards Israel, and they're saying that the situation must change with the recent declaration of the Israeli defense minister. What does that mean exactly? Well, declaring an area as a closed military zone is a significant step from the Israeli side to carry out certain operations that they did not carry out before on the Egyptian borders. How? Well, now the Israeli defense minister also said that we need to treat the situation on the borders with Egypt as a terrorist threat. A terrorist threat, meaning they're going to change the rules of engagement. The rules of engagement of Israel on the Egyptian borders don't necessarily speak about having explosions or operations or targeting anything suspicious immediately, but rather observing, having the technological means, using the Israeli Air Force as well, to try and take down these drones. The drones have been something very problematic for Israel for several years now. The Palestinian resistance, the Lebanese resistance, Yemen and Ansarullah in Yemen used a lot of drones, even Iran as well, to target Israel, drones and UAVs. And the problem that they faced with that threat is the fact that they fly at a very low altitude that risks them not being detected by the Israeli radar systems, no matter how advanced they are. We saw the Yemeni drones, for example, entering Israel with no problem and exploding in so many places. At one point, the Iraqi resistance did the same. Likewise, on all fronts, it led to the stage of Hezbollah targeting the bedroom window of Benjamin Netanyahu at one point. That was, well, bulletproof and explosion proof at the time, because he was clearly preparing for a scenario such as this. How does that change in relation to Egypt, though, a country that has a peace treaty with Israel? Well, Egypt has been already intensifying its actions in the Sinai Peninsula, not for anything but the threat coming from Israel and the continued Israeli genocide inside of Gaza. Now, however, we have a ceasefire. Then why is Israel escalating so far? Egypt is participating in that ceasefire. It's a key mediator. The Israelis visit Egypt regularly. Even Egyptian members of the intelligence community go to Israel to try and reach a long-term solution in relation to all of the points that they do not agree upon. Why are they doing that now? Well, there are several reasons for this. The first one is Israel failed in the main objective that was undeclared but stated multiple times by Israeli officials in Gaza, which is ethnically cleansing the population. Let's not forget that in the beginning of the genocide, during the genocide, and towards the end as well, they were talking about ethnically cleansing the population. Now Benjamin Netanyahu is facing harsh criticism from several figures on the right side of the map in Israel by this withdrawal and the ceasefire, to a level where there was an outright confrontation between Netanyahu and some of these figures on the Israeli media about the settlement, what they call the settlement. Some of them are saying turn Gaza into a Jewish location. And Netanyahu is saying this is not realistic at the moment. But seeing as this was an undeclared objective that Israel failed to achieve, although it tried multiple times to do that, once with the general's plan, then with the full bombardment, then with the invasion in Rafah, and all of the genocidal actions inside of Gaza. Having the excuse against Egypt could pave the way towards something being taken, or an action being taken, against elements in the Sinai Peninsula. Now, the first thing here is, we can't guarantee that anything is going from Egypt. There are, of course, rumors and reports and assumptions that military equipment is going from Egypt to Gaza. We know that drug smugglers use the borders as well. But from an Israeli perspective, well, they could be carrying out certain operations to use as a pretext. What would happen if they use it as a pretext? Well, they can say that Sinai is the problem now and actually not Gaza. Therefore, they would take certain actions, maybe want to have a certain buffer zone. That would make it easier for them to open the borders and later on ethnically cleanse the population in Gaza. Let's not think that this scenario is not realistic or too much. No, Israel is definitely having this scenario as an option. And if it wasn't for the Egyptian preparations for the past 2 years, Israel could have potentially already executed. There's a reason why Egypt deployed over 100,000 troops, a very sophisticated and advanced tunnel system that can fit fighter jets and advanced missiles. There's a reason why they have Chinese air defense systems in the Sinai Peninsula. There's a reason why there are Egyptian tanks on the borders between Egypt and Israel, on the Egyptian side, of course, because they know the ultimate plan of Israel, which is control the Sinai Peninsula, not only for Israel's security purposes, but also for financial purposes too, in relation to all of the gas and oil in the region, and making Israel as the financial hub, the main financial hub in the region towards Europe, or to export anything towards Europe, seeing as there are alternative routes being worked on now in the West Asian region that would include countries in the Gulf, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and other countries as well. That's very problematic for Israel from their strategic perspective, not only security-wise, but financially as well. How prepared is Israel for a full-blown confrontation with Egypt? Well, not very much. Number one, Egypt has been preparing way more than Israel. Israel cut its ground troops to a third of what they were 2 decades ago, and they failed in Gaza. What makes us believe that they can do something against Egypt, at least in terms of ground forces? That's one argument. But the second argument would be is, well, they would have alternative operations that they would want to carry out, or have a plan to carry out on the borders with Egypt, to use and then take advantage of in their greater plan with Gaza. Because although we have a very fragile ceasefire or slow-mo genocide happening, that didn't take away the ambitions of Israel. The ambitions of Israel are still continued expansion. Netanyahu himself said he has a very strong position in relation to the Greater Israel Project, and them failing at this point doesn't mean they gave up their long-term projects of not only making all of occupied Palestine an Israeli entity, officially ethnically cleansing the Palestinian population, but also expanding to the Sinai Peninsula and potentially other regions too. Israel made it clear previously what it thinks about the Greater Israel Project. There are influential figures in the Israeli government. And again, although there is a de-escalation now, that did not take away the genuine Israeli ambitions in expanding Israel.